All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome back for another awesome episode of the Fit 40 podcast. Today, we're going to be talking all about cravings. Okay, this is a big one. A lot of people have these crazy cravings that are just impossible to fight. And we want to talk about the ways that you can actually have success, manage them as best as you possibly can, so that way you can get the results that you want. All right. So let's first talk about what exactly the common causes are. All right. So now cravings are multifactorial and it might be more than just one of these. And it might be something that's not even on this list, but working with people over the years and seeing what's been working and what hasn't, these are usually the top reasons. And a lot of people who do address these issues do see a lot of good success with managing cravings or possibly eliminating them. So number one is lack of protein and or fiber. Okay, when you don't have enough protein and fiber in your day, you're just hungrier overall. So when you're hungry, chances for cravings are going to go up. So it's always best to have enough protein and enough fiber. So that way it'll help you differentiate if something's a craving, like a true craving, or if it's like, oh, I'm just hungry because I haven't had enough in my day. Next is sleep. When you don't get enough sleep, you are more likely to have cravings. You are more likely to make poor food decisions the next day, and you're low energy. It's a shitstorm of horrible stuff that happens when you don't get enough sleep, and it makes you more likely to eat the stuff you really don't want to be eating. Next is stress, and that's pretty much for all the same reasons as sleep. It just gets in your way. It leads to things like emotional eating. It leads to things like binge eating and other stuff like that, which again are somewhat connected when it comes to cravings. So again, stress is a big one too. Next is boredom. We all know when we are sitting around doing nothing, it's very easy to go grab a little something. You're just sitting on the couch and you're like, I kind of want something right now. I don't know what it is. And it's not really a craving, but you're just like, man, I really could go for something. And then you open up the pantry and something calls to you. Okay. I would classify that under the cravings management as well. Five is menstrual cycle. This is a big one with the ladies. When it is that time of the month, it is very common to get cravings, but there are strategies you can utilize to make rough situation a little bit easier and stay on track and stay on target with your goals. And then last but not least is environment. But environment is kind of an umbrella thing. So even though it is number six, it's kind of involved in all the others, as you'll see. So let's talk about protein and fiber. When it comes to protein, ideally we want about a palm size at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, assuming you're doing 3 meals a day. Or like I do with the Fit 40 clients, we'll just say 3 to 6 palm sizes a day. So if you're only having 2 meals, make sure you get 3 to 6 in those 2 meals or whatever kind of meal structure you're working with. And if something's not a palm, like a piece of meat, fish, or poultry, anything like that, then 20 grams of protein is the like what I would consider a serving. And that's assuming that it's lean. So if something's lean, the simplest way to know is whatever the grams of protein are, just add a zero next to it. And if it's that many calories or less, then we'll consider it lean. So if it is 20 grams of protein, it should be it should be 200 calories or less. And then next is fibrous carbs. And that can come in the form of whole grains, in the form of chickpeas, lentils, nuts, seeds, things like that. Those are really good bang for your buck. And then also the stuff we know, fruits, veggies, all that good stuff. So making sure that we have that in our day makes us less hungry overall and it makes us feel more energized. So we're just in a better state overall to not go for that stuff that we don't actually want. And then when it comes to sleep, okay, control what you can control. This is one of those things that comes up all the time. I say, you got to sleep more, you got to sleep better. And every single parent rolls their eyes and says, oh, wait till you have kids. And I get it. I totally get it. I'm not saying, oh, just somehow magically create 1 more hour when your kid is waking you up at all hours of the night or when pets are being loud. And there's a million reasons why getting the hours is difficult. And I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to say you could do better. Like, just we'll accept the fact that it is what it is. I'm talking about the stuff that's most controllable, things like quality. So, are you sleeping in a cold, dark, quiet room? Now, can you get all three of those? Not all the time. Can it be cold? Depends on your partner. Okay, you want to try and find that common middle ground where both of you don't have to sacrifice sleep. My girlfriend's or I can't even say girlfriend, my fiance, for anybody who doesn't know, we got engaged recently. Um, my fiance is freezing at night and she's a little chilly, but that just calls for more snuggles. That's the way I made the compromise. So I got the temperature that I wanted. And then when it comes to the darkness, make sure that we don't have the TV on to fall asleep to. I know some people like that, but it does mess up your sleep quality, even though you like the noise to fall asleep to. If that's the case, get a white noise machine or fall asleep to like a sleep story or something like that on Spotify. There's actually a bunch. I had no idea, but they're all there. If you have Spotify or even YouTube has a bunch of them, just try and find one without ads so you're not waking up to, have you tried athletic greens? So I'm not trying to plug them, please God, no. And then the other thing is quiet. And obviously that's depending on where you live. If you're in a city, good luck. But doing things like investing in earplugs if you're able to. And again, if you have like a baby or something, probably not that practical, probably not going to happen. But if you could get two out of those three that I just mentioned, if you can make it cold and dark, awesome. If you could just get the temperature down, awesome. Anything is better than not doing any of this stuff. Oh, skipped one. So next is stress. When it comes to stress, this is another situation where it's like control what is within your control. Some stressful stuff we don't have control over, and we just kind of got to bite our lip and say, all right, power through. It'll be over soon. Okay. So, like, the common stuff like politics, bad weather, the news, dramatic people that just happen to be in our lives. You just kind of just have to, okay, we'll wait till this is over and on to the next thing. Don't worry about that stuff as far as trying to fix it. Okay. When it comes to things that you can control, okay, think about things like your social media exposure, how often you watch the news. If you have productive boundaries with those dramatic people, the ones that are always loaded with stress and drama and problems that want to always unload it on you because they're venting when in reality they're just using you as like an emotional dumpster. Okay. So if you have the ability to make some boundaries there and control your exposure, that stuff can go a very, very long way. And then focusing on things like journaling, breath work, exercise, all that stuff helps a ton with being able to make sense of your emotions, bring you down to a state where you can actually sift through your emotions rather than be consumed by them because you're bringing yourself down to this manageable level rather than being elevated to the max and trying to figure it out there. And then last but not least is number three is seek professional help if it's chronic. If it's something that it doesn't go away and it's just forever and it's nonstop, that's where you got to call in the big guns and be like, okay, I need to fix this because I don't want to live like this. I do not want to have to deal with all this stress beating down on me 24/7. And they can give you some high level techniques that'll help a lot, very, very well. So that could be a route as well. Next is boredom. Okay, like we talked about, this really does come down to the environment. So when it comes to being bored, the key thing there when we're trying to make sure that this isn't an issue is fix the boredom, find something to fill it with. So find a hobby. Okay, that's the easiest thing to do. Usually something with your hands helps a lot too, because nobody wants to eat Cheetos when they're knitting because then you get that Cheeto dust all over and it doesn't look good and it kind of smells. So we don't want that. Okay, so occupy your hands with activities like playing with your kids. So if they're little and they're doing tummy time or something, play with them, play with the blocks, do all that stuff. Okay. If you like to read a physical book. Make sure you have to use two hands. Okay. So it's not Kindle in one hand, chips in the other. Next is video games. So if you're like me and you like to play video games, have at it because playing video games and not eating, if your goal is to lose body weight, is very good compared to doing something else like watching a movie or a TV show and just stuffing your face because you can't help it. So making that simple swap can help a lot too, as long as the video games don't affect your sleep, because then we go back to sleep being an issue and we don't want to rob Peter to pay Paul. Next is knitting. Like I said, nobody wants Cheeto fingers when they're knitting. So that's another one as well. But if you have another one like Sudoku or anything else like that, where you can really occupy your hands, it should help a ton. Next is menstrual cravings. When it comes to this, the environment is key because if you are going to have these elevated cravings, don't make it so easy to reach for that thing that you're craving. Another thing that can help too is when it comes to calorie cycling, if you've ever heard of that, when you are able to partition some calories, if you are calorie counting, so that during that time of the month, you can increase them a little bit. That is ideal. So if you can give yourself 100 to 300 calories more during that time, because every woman is different. Some people get no cravings. Some people get crazy cravings. Some people it lasts all week. Some people it lasts 1 to 2 days. Figure out whatever yours is if you're still in that season of life, because I know I also have a lot of people after that listen in. So you guys can just tune out for this. But if that is you right now and you're dealing with this, figure out exactly how many days it's really intense. And you're like, okay, these cravings are through the roof. I'm going to give myself X amount of calories for that. So you could bring it all the way up to maintenance calories, or you could just give yourself the ability to have 1 or 2 extra snacks like that 100 to 300 calories. And if you're able to say, listen, I gave myself more, I ate that thing, I feel satisfied, I satisfied the craving, and you could get back on track right to the normal plan and back to your calorie count that you were sticking to before, you'll be A-okay. So that's one way around it. And last but not least is environment, like I mentioned so many times. The big thing here is to make the healthy choice the easy choice. And I totally stole that from Jen Boxterman, RD. She is the lead of Prosper Nutrition, one of the most successful nutrition coaching companies I've ever come across. And she is loaded with gems like this. And that's a big one, is making the healthy choice the easy choice. If you have a pantry full of the stuff that you really don't want to eat, that's high calorie, that's low quality nutrition wise, and you have nothing else to substitute in, like fresh fruit or veggies and hummus or things like that, then it's going to be so much harder, and you're going to make the poor decision more times than not. So let's flip that script. Let's make sure that you have that stuff first and foremost. You can have both, just make sure that you have actually vegetables and fruit that you could pick from rather than the other stuff that you don't want to. And then if you find yourself not able to make that decision over and over and over again, you could utilize something like the gas station rule, where when you say, when you're at the grocery store, you do not buy anything that is quote unquote a trigger food. Those types of foods that if they're in your house, they're going to get eaten, they're going to get eaten fast. And your calorie count or your diet that you're on doesn't mean diddly squat because that food is in the house and it's that uncontrollable. I get it. I have those foods myself. Okay. If that's the case, don't buy it, but don't restrict yourself either. Because when you restrict yourself and say, I can't have this, that's like telling your kid, no, you can't have the cookie. What is the one thing that they want most in the world when you say no? They want that freaking cookie. You're no different. Our brains operate the exact same way. So make sure that you have the ability to get it if you truly want it. But you got to go to the gas station. You got to go to the grocery store to get a single serving, not a whole bag, just a single serving to satisfy the craving. You got to get those shoes on. You got to grab your keys. You got to start up your car. You got to travel 5, 10, 15, maybe even 30 minutes. Okay. You got to go get it. You got to pay for it. Then you got to come home. And by the time all of this happens, you're like, ugh, I don't even want to go anymore. You just went through the mental process and you're like, nope, no thanks, I'm good. If that's the case, it's not a true craving. If it is a true craving, you'll go and get it and you won't feel bad about it because you're like, hey, I was willing to put up with all this extra stuff just to go get this. So enjoy it and then get on with your life. Okay. The key is to make that decision 1 out of 10 times, not 10 out of 10 times. So if you can say, hey, 9 out of 10 times, I'm too lazy for that. I'm using it as a superpower and I'm not going to go do it. That's going to get you results in the long term, even though you'll satisfy the craving here and there. And then the other thing too that you could do is the apple test. That's basically if you do opt to have both in the house, the trigger foods and the healthier choices, then you can say, hey, do I want an apple right now? If am I craving something so bad? Am I so hungry right now that I could eat an apple? And if the answer is no, then you're probably bored. You're probably like just trying to fill a void of some sort. Yeah, you're probably just not operating well because of a bad night's sleep, and you're like, ugh. Okay. If you truly don't want that apple, then you don't have to eat. Okay. And it's the same with the hummus and the veggies. Like if you don't want to make the healthy choice, then don't make the bad choice either. Okay. That will give you plenty of options, plenty of tools, plenty of strategies to do the damn thing. Okay. So last but not least, let's keep these in mind. Key reminders. Number one is control what you can. When it comes to cravings, there's a lot of factors and you can't control all of them, but do your best to control the ones that you can. Number two is don't rely on willpower. You keeping stuff in the house 24/7, 365 that you know you love to eat way too much of. If you keep doing it over and over and over again, that's the definition of insanity. Just doing the same thing, expecting something different. No, you're not going to get willpower out of nowhere. You're not going to snap your fingers and all of a sudden you're going to make all the right decisions. You got to set yourself up for success. And then number three is reach out for help if you need it. And if you do, you're in luck because the Fit 40 Family Monthly Challenge this month is killing cravings. We're going to be running it from the 14th to the 27th. So you get to make sure you get 2 solid weeks in of working on habits to make sure that we don't go crazy on cravings just in time to be able to handle Halloween like a champ, be able to have all your favorite stuff, but not go overboard. And you also won't fall for the 3 month long case of the fuckets that comes with this latter half of the year. Okay. So if you want to stay on track for the rest of the year and get in on this challenge and the November and the December challenge, okay, they're all free and they're all a great time and they're going to keep you on track. So if you're not in the Fit 40 family already, get your butt in there. It's in the description, it's in the show notes. Click away, get yourself in there, and make sure to sign up for the challenge because if you're not already signed up, every single person that gets admitted to the Fit 40 family, I reach out to personally. So I'll reach out to you and say, hey, have you signed up for the challenge? And if not, I'll give you all the details right there. All right. But if you have any questions at all, feel free to send me a DM on Facebook. I respond to every single one of them. So, yep, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope to see you in the challenge. And oh, I almost forgot. Last but not least, the challenge also comes with a masterclass. So you can ask all your questions and everything in person and get all the details on the challenge and get an even better in-depth explanation of everything that I just talked about. So that's the Monday. That would be the 14th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So also, big reason to show up. All right. Thank you again. I'll see you all next week. But until then, go kick some ass. I'll see you later.